Hey everyone, we are coming back to you from Cigarro Cigar Lounge for the Youngstown Click Be Connected podcast. This is where we record because this is such a gathering place of conversation and community. The people that you're going to find here when you walk through the doors, you never know. Actually, in the conversation is definitely something that I have enjoyed the times that I've been here. My guest today is Jim Hruska, and we are going to talk about how to not get scammed. He is so qualified to talk about this, and he has ways to help you prevent it. And he tells you what to do if, in fact, you think that you have been scammed or the scammer has something on your computer. This is something that happens so often. I actually saw a guy in a bank who had a guy on the phone. He had his phone in his pocket, and the scammer was telling him what to do, what to say to the teller. And he said, I need to take all the money out of my account because it's been compromised. He said, I was at the library and I got a phone call that my account has been compromised and I need to transfer it into this account. Obviously a scam. We could see it from the outside, but this man was about to transfer a lot of money. I don't want to put it out there, but it was tens of thousands of dollars. So we know it happens. We don't like to see it happen. And I 100% don't want it to happen to anyone in my clique. So that's what we're talking about today. But before we get started, I want to mention our sponsor for the Youngstown Click podcast is Ohio Flame. Ohio Flame does custom-made, steel-forged, United States of America made fire pits. So did I say USA made twice?
Nope.
Okay. So basically you could design them. These are guaranteed. They have a lifetime warranty. So they are guaranteed to last a long time. So if you have a place of business or you love having people over, I said last time, fire pit conversation is sometimes the best conversation. You don't create a bonfire without the expectation that you're going to enjoy it with people and community. So Ohio Flame supports Youngstown Click. So super thankful for them. Let's get right into this. Jim Hruska, say hello to Youngstown Click.
Hello, Youngstown Click.
All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what kind of qualifies you to even be discussing this and saving us all from getting scammed.
Sure, not a problem. So I've been in IT, working on computers and networks and security and all of that for 32 years now.
Wow.
But I actually started as a programmer when I was 7 years old. I taught myself how to program, and I was using computers at 7 years old.
Wow.
And I've done it ever since. I've always known I was going to own my own business, but I spent a few years in the military where I learned how to do networking, and then when I got out of that, I went to work for IBM for a short period of time. Wow. Went to work for a company that wound up selling their professional services, which was the division I was in, to Ameritech, which wound up becoming AT&T.
Wow.
So I worked for AT&T as a consultant for 8 years, and then when I left there, I went to work for another small company that wound up getting bought by BT, British Telecom, which is one of the biggest companies in the world.
Man, so you've had quite a success in your pathway.
Done a lot of different things, seen a lot of different things. I spent about 14 months working on a project, which was one of the biggest projects BT ever had. It was an outsourcing where we took over all of the IT for Procter & Gamble, which is, everybody knows who Procter & Gamble is. Globally, we took over their IT. So I was part of the pursuit team that sold that deal, and then I was part of the team that set it all up and put in place all of the stuff that was needed to run the IT for a company like Procter & Gamble. So,
nice.
A lot of stuff that I've done, and in 30 years, I've seen it all. I've seen so many things, and some of them make me cry.
Oh my goodness. We're going to get to that.
Yes.
We have the pleasure of having him in Youngstown, Ohio. So he has lived all over the place. You were out in California in the military, right?
I was actually in South Carolina in the military.
South Carolina.
Yes,
Okay.
South Carolina in the military. But I have been all over traveling for BT and for AT&T. I was part of my job for part of that time was I was a fixer. So basically, if there was somebody who had a project that they couldn't figure out or whatever, they would travel me in for a week to get them back on schedule.
That sounds like a TV show.
The fixer.
We should have a TV show where it shows like all the scams and then you come and fix. But that would be kind of sad as well. So, okay, let's get into real quick. I have to ask you. So you guys, he has a company here called Pirum Consulting. So I'm going to ask you a couple personal questions real quick.
Sure.
What does Pirum, Pirum, what in the heck is that? That's not your last name.
No. So my last name is Hruska, and the story of how I came up to this name was that Hruska it's difficult to spell for anybody who speaks English because nobody, even when I spell it for people, they want to put an extra letter in because it's HR, and everybody wants to put a letter in there. So I couldn't call my company Hruska something or anything like that because nobody would be able to find it on the internet when they go to type in the URL. They'd all type it wrong. So, but Hruska is actually Czech for pear, the fruit.
Oh, okay.
So that's also why my logo is a pear. But so I said, well, I could do pear consulting, but there's already a big fruit in the
tech
IT
world.
In the tech world.
Right.
I don't want to compete with Apple for being the biggest fruit. So that wouldn't work. So I started looking at other languages, and I looked at everything. I mean, languages that have different alphabets, everything. But what I wound up settling on was Latin. So Pirum is Latin for pear.
Wow, look at that journey.
Yes.
Look at that journey. So when you guys see a big van going around town with a pear on it, that says Pirum Consulting, you guys will know who's in that van.
Yes.
All right. Second personal question before we get into the scams. How long has it taken? So you guys, sometimes when I picture IT, I think of this little skinny college kid with wiry glasses. Well, that's not you. That is definitely not you.
Definitely not.
Yes. He has you guys can't see him, but he has a full beard and goatee. That's called a goatee, right? Okay. And then long hair. So how long has it taken to grow your hair out this time?
So I want to explain to everybody, and I don't know if the name is actually copyrighted, but everybody tells me I look like Hagrid from Harry Potter. So
that's funny.
I actually started the beard I've had for forever. I don't remember the last time I shaved my face, but the hair itself, I started growing out the same time as COVID. So this is grown from it's my COVID hair.
Okay. All right.
Mostly because I couldn't get in to see anybody to do anything with it, and then when they finally did start opening up, they wouldn't do beards, and I won't get my hair cut without having my beard trimmed. So, so I continued to just let it grow, and now it's gotten to a point where it's kind of my look.
Yeah. Right. That's all. That's all amazing. That's amazing. Okay. Let's talk scams. I can talk to you about real quick. If any of you are listening, we had a situation with YoungstownClick where somebody spoofed our page, took the logo, made a fake page, it had 0 followers, and then they went and told all the people on our regular post that they won and we're trying to get money from them. So if that ever happens, just across the board, not us, has nothing to do with us. That's something that hackers are able to do. But let's talk about, so that's something kind of where it hit home with us. People are always getting on our friend circle and trying to post like these fake Amazon jobs and stuff. And that's one of the ways that it hits social media. But let's talk about ways that have really affected people, the phone calls, things that you have seen in your experience. So talk to us about, I don't know, pick one. And
Sure. So I actually know a person who lives down in southeastern Ohio, the East Liverpool area, and they called me and told me that their mother had actually gotten an offer from the mortgage company that they could pay off their mortgage for $15,000 if they sent it in today. And the only way that they could do that was either a Western Union telegram or Bitcoin. And they explained to her what Bitcoin was, told her how to do it, and she went and got $15,000 out of her savings and her retirement accounts and sent it into this quote-unquote mortgage company. And
now, was $15,000 like a deal, or was it just like...
Yeah, no, it was...
So they offered her a deal.
Yeah, it was a very good deal. It was like less than half, I think.
Oh my goodness.
She took that as an opportunity to make, save some quick money tried to take advantage of that. So anyhow, obviously,
What did they ended up getting Bitcoin, or they ended up getting Western Union?
she wound up doing Bitcoin. And obviously, I'm talking about it now, so you guys know that it's a scam. But if it wasn't a scam, then I wouldn't be bringing it up. But so there are a
She
couple.
didn't. Did she fall for it?
She did. She did. She fell for it, and the money was gone, and she has
There's
no
no
way to get it
trace.
back because once it goes into Bitcoin and is sent to somebody else, it's gone. There's no getting it back.
And they could be anywhere in the world.
And they could be
There's no
anywhere in the
tracing.
world, right? So there are a couple points that I want to bring up with this. The first one is that, well, first off, let's be clear here. I don't know of any mortgage companies that will accept Bitcoin as a payment. So that should be the first red flag on that. The
But
second
the
one,
desire to get a good deal and paying off a mortgage,
but-
I mean,
but
it
the
plays on to that
yeah.
desire.
But the second point of it is if the deal's too good to be true, it usually isn't true. So if you're going to get half off of your mortgage, the remaining balance on your mortgage, that's probably a little bit too good to be true. Mortgage companies aren't out there to give away money.
Right.
And then the third point that I wanted to make on this, and the third red flag, was that they created a sense of urgency by saying, "Oh, it's got to be done today." So if you have somebody call you or contact you, whether it is from the business that you're doing business with or not, if you find that it's got any of these red flags, you should really stop and think before you step forward, especially if you're talking about large sums of money. So, I mean, again, Bitcoin to a legitimate business, now that's changing a little bit, but the banks and mortgage companies are more traditional. They're not going to be anywhere near the front line of accepting Bitcoin or any of the other cryptocurrencies to take a payment. If you have to be given instructions on how to do it, it's probably not going to be accepted by your mortgage company.
That's good. That's a good. Yeah, that's a good.
Then the deal being too good is another red flag. And then finally, like I said, urgency. What they want to do is they're giving you a sense of urgency so that you don't take the time to think before you act. And if you don't think, then you respond by emotion, and by doing that, you're going to take more risks, and you're going to do something that's not going to work out well for you usually.
Right. So in that case, they were using the desire to save money, the deal too good to be. Then we have the ones who play on fear.
Yes.
Fear. Oh my goodness! Like my neighbor, a guy who had spent some time in prison, and he's trying to live his life above board. He's doing all this stuff. Gets a call at work one day, and they say, "This is the sheriff. We found some charges, and if you don't go give us this gift card for eBay, we're going to come to your work and stuff." And somehow they put pieces together, and he went, bought a $300 gift card, gave him the information on the back, and they told him, "This is just to verify that it's you. We're not taking the money. You'll have the gift card." So he calls me and asks me to help him buy something on eBay. And of course, there was zero funds on it. And I couldn't help but think, like, how did you fall for this? But they played on that fear because he was trying so hard to, live. On a side note, I got to say, if you guys hear the clicking and the flame, that is because we are here at Cigar Studio, and Jim Hruska, it loves his cigars. Tell us your favorite kind of cigar real quick.
I love the house cigar here at Cigaro.
Oh, really? Okay.
I
that's
mean,
the one, the ones wrapped in newspaper?
Yes, the newspaper wrapped ones. Those are probably my favorite altogether of any cigars.
So if you guys like cigars or know somebody who likes cigars, that would make a great gift, because you can't get these cigars anywhere else in any other cigar shop except where they make them in Miami.
Yes.
So FYI, here in Hubbard, it would be a great gift, great Christmas, birthday, whatever, for a cigar lover in your life. Anyway, okay,
or
back
for me. I mean, I'll be happy to accept them too.
Pirum Consulting. All right, so tell us about, do you have any stories of people who got scammed because of fear, the fear motivator?
Sure. Actually, it's very similar to the one that you just gave. The second story that I want to talk about is a widow. Her teenage grandchildren had been posting pictures and other stuff to Facebook to her, and somebody was keeping an eye on this and found the information. So they actually, she received a call from these people, and they claimed to be a friend of her son. We'll call him Bill. That wasn't his name, but we'll call him Bill. they claimed to be a friend of Bill's, and that Bill was in trouble. He got arrested, and he had he had spent the night in jail, and they needed to get bail money for him, and she was the only person that they knew that they could call.
Yeah.
So they told her, what we need you to do, because we can't, there's no way to get us the money. We're down in Texas.
Right.
They told her to go to the local Walmart and buy some gift cards and read the numbers off the back of the gift cards.
No.
They got her to give them $5,000 in gift cards, and it would have been more. But when she got to, she bought up the whole stock at the first Walmart. When she went to another store to get more cards, they asked her why she was buying them, and they stopped her. They told her, don't do this. But she'd already given out that first bunch of cards.
The first batch.
To them.
And they told her to go to another Walmart.
Yep. They told her, that's not enough. We need more. Go to another Walmart and get some there. So, and he had been telling them that we're going to use this money to get Bill out of jail.
Right. And she probably never got off the phone to call Bill.
Nope. She never got off the phone to call Bill.
That's
never
one thing I heard
verified
they don't want you to do. They don't want you to get off the phone.
They kept her on the phone, and they said, okay, now when you go into the store, they're gonna question you, and you don't tell them anything. You just tell them you want the cards. I mean, they coached her on how to get the cards, even though like Walmart actually has a policy where they're supposed to ask if you buy a large amount of gift cards, what it's for, to try and help protect people from this. So that was another example. And here, again, just like with the mortgage company, and you can't use Bitcoin to pay off a mortgage, you can't use gift cards to pay out bail. I mean, this is just not a normal thing that you do.
But people who live above the law,
don't know this.
Yeah, they things change so fast, and especially a lot of older people, they think, oh, the young people, things change. I don't know. I'm out. Like, I don't know anymore. So they start to question their own unique ability or desire, to figure things out.
And again, just like the first story, they used the fact that he was in jail supposedly to create a sense of urgency. Oh, I've got to get him out of jail. He's going to get hurt. He's not made for jail, blah, blah, whatever. So just like in the first one, there was a sense of urgency created to do exactly what it did, which was to make her think, I have to do whatever I can to help, and I don't have time to think about it because I want to protect my baby.
Right.
So, and then the third thing to learn from this story was about Facebook, and it's not just Facebook; it's any social media, but Facebook is one of the most common ones. You can learn a lot about a person by looking at their Facebook account. I mean, I can tell you where you went to school. I can tell you what your kids' names are, your grandkids' names, how old you are, your birthday. There's just so much that everybody gives freely to Facebook as far as information. And all of that can be used to create a profile of you, which Facebook does, by the way, but so do the cyber criminals. They'll research you. They can go on Facebook. They can go on Twitter. They can go on whatever else you're on, Instagram, whatever. They can build a profile, and then they can figure out the best way to make you panic. And once you panic, they've got you, and you're going to do whatever they tell you to do. So if you have your account and it's publicly visible, so there are options when you post something. You can say that this is only available to my friends of my friends, or publicly, or just to me. So if you're making stuff publicly visible, that is giving people information that can be used to harm you. They can find that information. They can scam you, and that's not where you want to be. So what you want to do in this case, specifically with the social media, is lock down your social media so that only your friends can see what you post, and so that when somebody posts something and shares, posts it to you, I can tag my friends in my pictures or whatever, that they don't get put on your timeline at all. Okay. Ideally. And secondly, you can approve them. So basically the way mine is set up is somebody tags me, I get a notification when I log into Facebook, and I can approve or not whether or not I'm allowed to be tagged in that post.
Right. But what's interesting is if you did get a call, oh, this person, says this or does that or it needs your help, your first thought is not like, wait a minute, how would they know that I was connected to this person? But you're right, you could easily see that on any social media network, or before social media, they'd go through trash.
Yep.
They would, I mean, people were still figure these things out in ways. So that's why it's good to not assume. Always hang up the phone.
Yep.
Always. I would say that 100%. A friend of mine here in Campbell, he was married to a lady, very beautiful lady, and somehow she got talking to somebody, and I guess it started out pretty friendly, but then he says, if you don't show me your breasts, I will put a virus on your computer, because she had already given him, like, I guess, access. I wasn't told like immediately how it got up to this point, right? And he said, if you hang up, if you do this, I will put a virus on your phone. On your computer, and everything will be lost. And so she's freaking out. So somehow he's walking by the room or something. She gets his attention and lets him, or writes down like what's happening. So he just walks over to the router or the modem and unplugs it from the wall, which was so obvious to him. But to her, she had no choice. She was panicked. And she had already done a few of the things that he wanted. And now he was asking for something more that she felt uncomfortable with. So it's crazy. So I would say, disconnect. If you what about these things that show up on a computer that take over the entire screen and it says, warning, 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 your phone's been, or your computer's been hacked. If you don't do something right now, your whole computer will whatever. Talk to us about that.
So what you're talking about there is ransomware. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not. There are people who will actually, there are websites you wind up going to that will actually overlay on top of the screen, basically cover the screen with a picture that looks like it's there,
right?
But there's no way to close it, so it looks like it's locked up your computer.
Right.
But if you can get in, if you know how to get into it, you can actually
Close
stop
that.
And it's not actually done any damage. There are also ransomware that is real, which will install on your computer and will actually it can do any number of things. So ransomware is really a major problem nowadays, but it can do anything from encrypting your hard drive so that you can't access your own data without paying a ransom, which is why it's called ransomware, or one that I've seen several times and I used to laugh at and don't laugh anymore about, but I actually had a friend who called me and said that his computer screen had gone red and asked me to come and take a look at it.
Okay.
And it was a red screen that said, FBI warning, your computer has been identified as having child pornography on it. And if you don't pay a fine at this number with this method, then we will be there to collect you and arrest you. And this was a panic move to get them to do something without thinking, because nobody wants to be associated with that, obviously, and I mean with good reason. But that was the one that actually was the most insidious, honestly, because of the fact that everybody is afraid of that. I mean, if you have somebody call you about your son. Maybe you don't get along with your son. Maybe you don't have a son. So I mean, somebody doing that is not always going to be effective. But if you say your computer's been identified and it says FBI on the top, you're going to panic. Another one that's very similar is, and this still goes on. I get calls all the time with this, and these ones I take as a personal affront. I'll get a call from somebody saying, yes, I'm from Microsoft, and we detected a virus on your computer. And so we need you to give us remote control so that we can get in. And
guys, don't ever do that.
Okay, so two points here. One, Microsoft is never going to call an individual. If you are, even if you're a big business, Microsoft won't call you directly. So they're not scanning your computer for viruses. They're not protecting you from that. You have antivirus software that protects you, and it will give you a report on your screen. You will never have somebody from Microsoft calling you and saying, you have a virus and we need to help you.
That's good to know.
So, and if you do give them access, they're going to pop something up on your screen that looks like a virus, so they can say blah 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 blah. Okay, we
I
fixed
found
it.
the
Give me
virus.
your credit card.
Yeah. Yep.
And
happened
they're
to my
not.
now that one happened to my grandma.
And they'll say, "Oh, well, we're only going to charge you $50." They're not going to charge you $50. They're going to clear out your card.
Yeah. Well, thankfully thankfully she caught it. She talked to me. We shut it down. But I will say that the first line of defense, if anything comes up like that on your computer, the first line of defense is unplug your internet access. Unplug it, because even if they've started it, no matter where they are in the process, if there's a chance that you could save anything, if it's fake and you take it to somebody like Jim and they find, okay, that's fake, it whatever, great. If they started it and there's any way to save it, it's going to be by disconnecting their access right away. And the only way they have access is through the internet. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I just had to throw that in there. Talk to us about, this is a good one. Talk to us about, hold on, it was right there. It's a one that, the phone. Okay. If I Google Best Buy phone number, Best Buy Geek Squad, if I Google Allegiant Airlines, if I Google numbers are going to come up.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, a lot of them are scam. I worked at Best Buy and people would come in all the time and say, I called the Best Buy, help desk, and they, told me that I needed to pay this much money. So one guy called for his Amazon Fire Stick, and they said, well, we have to have access to your computer and scan it for viruses. They got him for $300, and he comes in to figure out what's going on with his computer because the Best Buy help desk did stuff to it. And obviously it wasn't us, but he called a number that he thought was the Best Buy help desk. Mm-hmm. My sister called a number she thought was Allegiant, and it was these people who said, we'll change your flight information. Allegiant actually got this notification that somebody was trying to mess with her flight information, and they called her. So it's crazy, but she looked that number up on the internet. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So anybody can make any web page. It is a simple point for me, for example, if I wanted to do it, to take any web page, Microsoft web page, Amazon's web page, any other web page that you can think of, to download a copy of the main page, the front page of it, and to put it up on another site and make it look exactly like mine or like the real one. It doesn't require any skill to do that. It is literally just...
Especially with AI now.
Well, that's not even an AI thing. That is just a right click, you click save, and it's made to the browser is made to do that because you may want to save a page. You can actually save a copy of the page, and it is all that information. And with very minor changes, you can then upload it again and put it on a page that, if I downloaded Amazon's front page, I could do AMZON instead of Amazon. And anybody who mistypes is going to go there, and they're not going to notice because it looks exactly the same as Amazon's page.
Okay, so now we've talked so much about some of the things that happened, and I'm sure that those of you who are listening probably have stories of your own. Maybe it's happened to you. Maybe it's happened to somebody you know. Maybe you get the calls all the time. Let's talk, Jim, about the ways, what you just said, and the emails. Pay attention. Okay, so disconnect from the internet. If you feel like you got something on your computer, take it to a person. Don't hang up the phone if you get the call.
Yes.
These are like major first step things. And then when it comes to the websites, would you say make sure, double check your spelling, make sure that you're at the right, like if you need a phone number, don't Google Amazon and then look up all the things that come up. Go to Amazon.com.
Yes.
And then go to their customer support and go through that process. Don't just say, oh, this number, I found it on Google. That's probably the safest thing that I could say. What would you say?
Google is a great source for information. I will never dispute that. Mm-hmm. However, it is also a great source for cyber criminals to distribute information that they want. So if you need a phone number, for example, for a company, the easiest way to do that is to go to their website. Now, you may need to go to Google to find their website.
Right.
But if you look at the address that you're going to, so if you type it in or if you click it, you look at the top of the screen, right across there, it's going to have what you went to. So before you go making any phone calls or spending any money or putting in a credit card number, you want to take a look at that name, make sure it's what you expected it to be, and also look for the little icon that looks like a lock that says that it's a protected site.
Okay.
Those two things are two things that you can identify there. Now, there are also software packages that will identify things like, a site that is known to be a scammer site, or there are all, the same software packages can also do things like it'll take a look at how long that domain, that address has been out there.
Okay.
And tell you, well, this is only a 1-month-old domain. You probably aren't at Amazon.com.
Right.
So you can use tools to help, and some of that's getting built into the browsers now too. So the browsers are becoming a little more intelligent. So you get some of that from the browsers. There are additional tools that you can use that will help to identify those types of things. And all of that is stuff that you can talk to someone like myself or your nephew who's 17 years old and knows everything about computers.
But just pay attention when your emotions are being manipulated. So
yes,
this one would legitimately probably be the easiest to fall into for somebody who is aware and they're just looking for the right information to make a phone call.
Yeah.
Then you have the fear.
Yes.
And then you have the this is a good deal. I got to, the fear of missing out on the deal. What other, I think that the curiosity one, have you ever gotten those messages on Facebook or something that says, look who died?
No.
Or, they'll do, look who died, or, hey, is this you in this picture? And it'll be like, whatever. I have never clicked on it because I know they're trying to get something on my computer. But those things go around, and then I know who clicked on it because then I'll get it from them. Yeah. Because once they click on it, it sends to all their friends.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, man, they probably don't even know it sent to their friends, and it probably put some on their computer. Yeah. So curiosity, if something plays on this major curiosity, there's been times I've messaged a friend and said, hey, did you send me this link? Because it'll look like from them, but it won't have an explanation.
Right.
And so then they'll say, oh, yes, this, is from me or whatever. So just when you feel any kind of surge of curiosity, fear, fear of missing out, just stop, slow down.
So yeah, those red flags that I was talking about,
yes.
those are what you want to watch out for. Any sense of urgency, fear, missing out,
making you feel stupid, and I got to teach you how to do this.
If they want you to do it now, that should be a red flag. Now, that is also a sales tactic, so it's not always going to be, which is why it's just a red flag and not an automatic stop.
Yeah.
But that's one red flag. The other red flags, like I said, are if they're asking you to do something that just doesn't make sense. So, like another story that I have, this one I'll go real quick with, but actually, it involved you, Debbie.
Me?
Sort of.
Wait, I wasn't trying to. Just for the record, I was not trying to scam anybody. Okay, go ahead.
So I, as you know, and now your listeners will know, I was 2 years ago the president of Toastmasters 408, which you are now president of. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
So
this is officially a president's club. Guys, yes. I just feel so important. Okay, all right, go ahead.
So anyhow, while I was president, I was sitting at the meeting place where we meet one Monday night getting ready for the meeting, and in walked Andrea, who was the previous president, and she asked me if I'd sent out a text message because she had gotten a text message asking her to pick up some gift cards because, quote unquote, I was in a meeting and I wanted to do some gift cards for the membership, and I didn't have time to stop. So could she pick them up and send the numbers to me over the text, and then I would reimburse her later out of the club's money.
Right.
So she got that text, and she actually responded back, well, I'm going to see you in 15 minutes. So they didn't respond to that. Where you came in a couple minutes later, well... 20 minutes later. And you actually said that you had gotten an email or a text. I don't remember how you got it.
It was a text.
But you had gotten one too. And the way that they found out about you two, or the way they found out this information was, it's right on our Toastmasters website. That I was the president and you guys were some of my officers. So, somebody read that, not understanding how Toastmasters works and how it's not a business, it's a volunteer organization.
It also said, this is James Hruska.
Yeah. They gave
president
my
or whatever. And I was like,
they gave my official name, which I never go by.
But the fact of the matter is, if you had said, hey, can you grab some gift cards? That would have been something entirely like a legitimate thing. Well, it was the details.
It would have been a legitimate thing.
Sending them the numbers.
It would have been a legitimate thing, possibly, if I had done it. But it was not something that was the norm for me to do. So if you, this is, and the reason why I tell this story is it's another one of those red flags.
Right.
If you get a message, email, text message, whatever, from somebody that claims to be someone you know, and they are asking you to do something that is out of the ordinary for them, do not assume that that is really who you're talking to.
Right.
What my recommendation in that case is to use another method of communication. So if they send you a text, don't send a text back.
And say, this
call.
Is you? Right.
Yeah, is this you? No, what you want to do is you want to call or send an email, or if they're down the hall or whatever, walk down and talk to them and ask them, did you send that?
Yeah.
It is too easy in this world to impersonate somebody else, especially over technology. So what you need to do is you need to always verify, especially when it involves money or personal information. That's another one. If someone says, hey, you know what, I was getting ready to do your some kind of a report for you, and I need your social security number. Do not ever, over technology, give a social security number to somebody unless you know for a fact that you're giving it to the person you mean to. Man. And even then, I wouldn't recommend it. I would do it. No. I would do it face to face.
Yeah.
And that's or over the mail, through the mail. Those are the only ways.
Yeah. So there was years ago, people committing suicide because they fell for the Nigerian scam, which is really kind of like the entry point of scams as we know it.
Early scamming.
Early scamming, yeah. So people would get an email saying, hey, I was left an inheritance and I want to help this little organization, or I want to help single moms, or I want to help. And they would send them out and literally
I need to get the money out of the country. Yes. So I need you to allow me to transfer it to your bank account.
And you could keep this amount.
You can keep 50,000 of it, and I'll send me. Well, they don't do that. They clear your bank account out, and they never actually do the transfer.
Oh no. Well, and then that was one, but they were also sending it to churches saying, my late husband, he was royalty, and he was an atheist and would never let me support churches, and now I want to support churches. So getting churches to do the same thing, thinking, oh, we're helping some, wealthy lady over in Nigeria. And really, like, people, it sounds silly, but they don't, the methods, basically my point is the message may change. The method and the emotions that they try to manipulate to make it doesn't change. So that's why you have to pay attention to what you're feeling. When you get a thing, is it top secret? Is it, I don't want to tell anybody because then they're going to want in on it? Like, you have to be aware of the emotions that it's evoking in you, because that is, that stuff hides in secrecy. It's don't tell anybody, don't hang up the phone, don't call anybody. So basically talk to somebody about it before you do anything major like that. But okay, so since we're getting short on time, talk to us about what happens. What can they do in the event they do get something on their computer, or maybe they feel like their computer has, they clicked on a link and they're just not sure if there's now something that could lock their computer or whatever.
So the easy thing to do there, the fast answer is you can't do anything yourself. I would not recommend you try to clean your own computer. I would recommend going to a specialist, someone who knows what they're doing. You can shut down your computer, don't start it back up.
Okay.
And take it to your IT guy or your computer guy. If you don't know one, I'm always willing to help out. This is actually a passion for me. This whole stopping scams. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and
that's awesome.
Do everything that I can to help people who are going through these types of things, and I do it. I'm not going to talk numbers here, but
Yeah.
when I get somebody who tells me that they've gone through this, usually I do it for a flat rate. So up front, I tell them, it's going to be this amount, and that's all I'm going to charge you, no matter how many hours I spend working on it for you or anything like that.
That's really cool, right? Peace of mind for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already painful because you've lost, some of these examples, $5,000, $15,000, and to have somebody come to you and say, well, we're gonna charge you, $150 an hour or whatever, and you never know how many hours it's going to take.
Right.
That's just it's just adding insult to injury almost.
Right.
But so I would not recommend trying to do it yourself though.
Right.
If you think you have a virus, you can run a virus scan if you want. Those are going to catch some stuff. When I do a job for cleaning a virus, for example, if you think you have a virus on your system, I actually run 3 different virus scans because none of them are going to catch everything.
Right.
And then there are other tools that I use as well to look deeper and to identify. And on top of that, then I scan through and look through all the installed programs to see if there's anything I can identify that I know. Is from experience,
a little bit more to look for.
That you're not going to know if you're not doing this on a daily basis. So,
right.
That would be my recommendation: is talk to somebody who does this, and give them a call and describe. You can describe what you saw, and if it's somebody who's legitimate, they can tell you, well, you know what, that might be a virus. You should probably have me look at it, or that's nothing to worry about, or
right.
Whatever.
Now, that leads me to a lot of people with older computers. It starts running slow after a while just because of, use and stuff. Is there do you have something like I guess what would be called like a tune-up where?
Yeah.
Okay, so you offer that type of thing as well?
I also offer a tune-up. I will evaluate the computer, the hardware, to see if it needs to be updated, if you need more memory or if it needs a new hard drive or whatever. I can also look at whether or not there are programs that can be removed, things that might be using up your resources, because it's not just speed of the computer itself, but you also got how much memory it's got, what kind of hard drive it has in it.
Break that down for people who don't know the computer parts. The memory, I'll just explain it how I know to explain it. The memory is how much. It's almost like short-term memory, like how many programs you could have working at the same time momentarily. It's not where you store your photos or your files. It's literally like, if you have 2 or 3 programs going and it starts lagging and it's because you might need more memory.
Right.
Right.
So
that's the memory part of it.
Basically,
and you could make that. You could add more memory.
Right. So there's 3 main parts you need to worry about when you talk about speed.
Okay.
And there's CPU, which is the brain. There's memory, and then there's storage. So the CPU is what does the commands. It's what processes the data. It follows the steps in the program and does the stuff.
Is that what they call the motherboard?
Well, the motherboard is where all this sits.
Okay.
So the motherboard is just a board that you plug in a CPU, you plug in memory, you plug in a hard drive.
Okay.
So the CPU is the brain. It does all the commands. The memory is where all of the data is stored and all the commands are stored. So if you have not enough memory, what it has to do is it actually has to swap that out. So, and I don't want to get too in depth into it.
I want my viewers or listeners to understand it a little bit, just a little bit more than maybe they did.
So what happens is, like, say I'm running 2 different programs, and I have 8 gigs of memory. Okay. So I load up the one program, and it starts running, and it's using some of the memory, and the CPU, the brain, can swap back and forth really quickly between all the different commands. So it can actually process, with Windows, it can actually process more than one program at a time, which is why you can have 2 windows, one with a browser and one with a word processor or whatever.
Okay.
Each of those is 2 different programs. What's happening is the brain is going back and forth between them so fast that you can't even tell the difference. But what happens is each of them uses memory. Well, if you run out of memory, what it has to do to make more memory is, since you only have 8 gigs, it has to actually take part of the memory, store it in the hard drive, in the storage, which is much slower, to make room so that it can put something else in. And then if you want to access the stuff it put on the hard drive, it has to take what's in memory, put it into the hard drive, and then pull from the hard. So now you're slowing down because you're constantly swapping stuff back and forth from the fast memory to the slow hard drive.
So you guys see how passionate he gets about this. This is amazing. I never knew, like, but I just see that little ball rolling, like waiting, and I'm like, ugh.
That's it, swapping out stuff most of the time.
Okay.
So there are a couple things we can do to speed up a computer. If it's a really old computer, we could replace the CPU, the brain, put in a faster one. Usually that's not the problem. If it's low on, doesn't have a lot of memory, up to a certain point, we can add more memory. After you get to a certain point, it's really not beneficial. The bare minimum you should have in a Windows computer nowadays, my opinion, my professional opinion, is 8 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
Most people have 8. You get a benefit up to about 16, maybe to 32 if you're doing a whole bunch of stuff all at the same time. But but there's a diminishing returns as you add more memory.
Oh.
So then the next best thing to do if the memory is where it needs to be is to look at the hard drive. There's 2 types of hard drives.
Okay, I do know this. I know this one.
So there's a spinning platter.
Okay.
And then there's what's called an SSD.
Okay.
So an SSD doesn't have any moving parts. Because there are no moving parts, it's all electronic. It's faster than a spinning drive.
Okay.
So if you have a spinning drive, we can replace it with an SSD and it will speed up the process. It is still not as fast as memory, but it is better than what you might have if you have a spinning drive in there.
Okay. Wow. So all these details.
So there's all kinds of pieces that someone with my experience can identify if there's a hardware need.
Okay.
But on top of that, with the tune-up, I also will go through and look at what programs are running, see if we can stop some stuff from starting at the when you start up. If you open up every program you have, you're just filling up memory with stuff that you may not use every day.
Right.
So we stop some of those from starting, and you only start them when you need them. That'll help speed things up. So there's things that we can do to tune, which is why I call it a tune-up rather than whatever.
You're right.
But so I can tune the computer, and I can also change settings to make. There are certain settings that'll make the computer run faster. There's lots of things that make Windows pretty.
This, what this makes me think of. If some of you guys have kids or grandkids, or yourself, or getting ready to go to college, or start a new career, it may be worth really looking into some of these things to make sure that you're going to get the computer. Yeah, I got lucky to get a laptop that I love. I bought it from a friend who bought it, or not a friend, a guy that I, was selling it, because he bought it for his job, but it wasn't strong enough for his job. But it was exactly what I needed, right? And so he actually ended up getting the upgrade and selling this one. So basically, to avoid doing that, to avoid yourself being put in that situation, if you have any questions about that stuff, Jim is a friend of YoungstownClick. He's a friend of mine. He is, he like, you hear the passion in this stuff. So reach out. You want to go ahead and right now share your credentials before? Yeah.
Sure. So you can reach me by phone at 330-261-8407. That's a direct number to me.
Okay.
And if you want to send me an email, you can do that at Jim, Jim, at pirumllc.com. That's PIRUM as in Mary, LLC.com.
Okay. And if you're a scammer, you need not bother to.
I might waste some of your time if you're a scammer.
Did you see that? Ever see that guy on YouTube that scams the scammers?
Yeah.
Oh,
I do that. That's why I said I love when those Microsoft guys call me, because I keep them on the phone for an hour.
Oh my goodness. Oh, but to see the depths and the lengths that these people will go through, like I don't want to talk to them, but when he lets them on and they literally will manipulate, they'll think he's an old woman, and they will pull out all the stops and try to manipulate her and shame her and embarrass her and force her. I'm literally, it's infuriating to listen to. Literally so bad. It is. But yeah. Okay. So, so you do tune-ups, you do all that stuff. Basically any computer repair. Is there any other stories or anything else that you would like to kind of close us out with, or any last thoughts just for the people? Like, I'm sure you see these things come into your office, and then now's your platform to just say, hey guys, like, here's my big message.
I want to give a couple, 6, if I can do real quick. Sorry. 6 things that you can do to protect yourself. These are proactive rather than reactive. So
good.
do them now.
Yes.
And this will help. It won't protect you 100% because nothing is 100%, but it will help to protect you from scammers in the future.
Perfect.
So there are 6 of them I came up with as a starting point. The first one is to secure your passwords. And what I mean by this is that you should be using a password manager. That's a piece of software that will store your passwords for you. So you only have to memorize one password. But what that does is it gives you the ability, every site can have a different password. You should not reuse a password from one site to another. Because even if you have the most secure password in the world, if one of those sites gets hacked and they get that password, then they can use it at any other computer or any other system that you that you use it on. So if you have a different password on every one, then you limit the danger of somebody getting your password at that site. So they need to be strong, and that means that they should have upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols.
Okay.
They should not be reused on any other system. So the easiest way to do that, like I said, is to have a password manager. And there are free ones out there. I do have one that I resell that's not free, but that's more geared towards businesses. So it's okay. There are ones that are free for individual use. So just find a password manager and select that. And if anybody wants to know which one they should use, they can contact me and I'll give them advice. Advice is always free.
Oh wow, that's impressive. Advice is not always free in the world.
The second step is to use MFA. Now you may see that called 2FA. What that is it's multi-factor authentication. This is the extra step you do to prove you are who you say you are.
Okay.
So
I was like, what is MFA?
So like, for example, everybody's used it. If you've ever talked to a bank, you've ever, gone online and used your bank, or you use your cell phone so some of the examples of MFA are, getting a text message with a 6-digit code that you have to type in, or you might have an app on your phone that gives you a code. Biometrics is also a multi-factor authentication. So that's the thumbprint. If you've got your phone set to where you use a thumbprint to unlock it, or Face ID, those are multi-factors as well. So you should be using that everywhere that it's available. Not every website offers it, but your social medias do, your banks do, your email does. If it's available, you should be using it. Because that means that even if somebody gets your password for that site, they also have to have your phone or your thumb or your face or whatever to do that second factor. So that's why you want to use MFA.
Okay.
Third, keep your computers and your phones up to date. Patches, software, and system updates are there for a reason. Usually it's because there's a bug or an error in the code, and the patch is what's going to fix it. So if the software is if there's a bug in the code, usually those cyber criminals are out there watching for these bugs, and they figure out how to use that to get into your computer. If you keep your computer up to date, then you don't have to worry about them getting through that bug or that error and getting into your computer to take it over or whatever, or get data out of it. Next is run security software. So by this, I mean antivirus, anti-malware, firewalls. There's lots of stuff that you can use. Anti-spam and anti-phishing software are filters that will protect your email so that you don't get phishing attempts.
So one of the things that people, probably a common question is Windows firewall, and some people say you don't necessarily need the virus thing on a Mac. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Everybody has viruses now. It used to be that Macs and Linux didn't have viruses. You didn't need them. But there are viruses out there in the wild for every operating system now. There are viruses for your iOS phone. There are viruses for your Android phone. Viruses are there, and antivirus is a good idea. If you're running programs, you have the potential to pick up a virus if you are connected to the internet. The only truly safe computer is a computer that is sitting in a box, unplugged, not connected to the internet, and never turned on. That is the only safe computer.
Right.
So there are multiple tools.
I'll try that. I'll try.
There are multiple tools that are available to protect the multiple paths that criminals can use to get in. And on top of that, you sometimes need to have multiple tools on the same path. So like your downloads from your web browsers. If you're downloading programs or files from the web browser, you may need more than one tool to protect that path of ingress into your computer, because one tool may have a flaw in it, that allows something to get through, a false negative. Whereas if you have two tools that are doing it, and I'm not talking about two antiviruses. You can't run two antiviruses together.
Yeah, they
But you have an antivirus and an anti-malware. One of them's watching for certain things. The other one's watching for other things. So by having both of them, you're protecting and filling in the gaps from one to the other.
Got it.
Okay. 5 was keeping your social media social, but only amongst your friends and family. Don't share publicly. Turn off public sharing. In fact, make your profile private would be a great recommendation. Because a public profile or public shares gives the criminals the ammunition that they need to come after you. It might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow, but you never know when the wrong person will see the wrong post. Oh, and by the way, that also includes things like posting, I'm on vacation in the Keys. Wait until you get home and then post those. I was on vacation in the Keys.
Yes.
Because, so cyber criminals are watching that, but if you post something publicly that you're on vacation, the regular criminals can be watching that and say, oh, well, that house is empty. Now I can go in and break into that house.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing the amount of information that every one of us puts out there, and don't think about the effect that having that information out there has.
Yeah, because good people don't assume bad people thoughts.
No,
but
they're
it's
out
good
there.
to right. It's good to be aware that there are people who do that without.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying, without becoming a bad person, to be aware that they are out there and to protect yourself.
And then one last one, and this one is a big one. Use a VPN anytime you're on any. I even use a VPN at home, and I'll explain why. But what I mean by a VPN is there's lots of programs out there that do this. But basically, what they do is they create a tunnel across the internet. So what this means is that, for example, if I'm sitting at a Panera or a Starbucks or a McDonald's and I'm using the public Wi-Fi, if I'm using that and I'm not using a VPN, anybody that's on that same Wi-Fi can see what I'm sending out. Okay, so I for $119 you can buy what's called a pineapple. That's what it's called. Excuse me, a Wi-Fi pineapple, and what that is, and I'm showing Debbie a picture of it right now, but it's $119 and it's just a little box. And what it does is it sits there and it listens to the Wi-Fi and just collects every piece of information that's sent out on the Wi-Fi. And then later on, somebody can go through it and find out what information was sent out.
What? Let me see that again. It looks like it looks like a little router with all the things stuck up. Now, here's the thing. You may say at Panera or Starbucks or something, you may say, oh, wow.
Yeah, $119.
And you may say, okay, well, I would see that. Well, first, one, it's small. Secondly, can't they sit outside and do it?
They could sit outside. They could have it in a bag. It doesn't have to be visible to collect.
Man.
It could be in a bag in someone's briefcase or whatever.
Wow.
And you don't actually even have to have that. You can do it with just a regular computer. It's just that is custom made to do that job.
Right. So I'm wondering if that's what happened to the guy that I saw at the bank, because he said he was at the library working on his iPad, he said. And then he got a phone call, so if he was doing any kind of banking, then that could have been, that's crazy.
So the comments that I made to you earlier, I think are a great illustration of what I'm talking about here. If you're at Panera and you use the Wi-Fi, and I'm sitting on the same Wi-Fi, I read everything you sent out. So if you log into your bank to check your balance, depending on how you connected, I might be able to get your password and your bank balance just because I was listening. Log into Facebook to add that picture of that cappuccino you just drank. Well, maybe now I have your Facebook password and I can see everything you've got on Facebook. If you check your email, well, now I have everything, because think about this. If you have your accounts and you go to a website and you forgot your password, you say, I forgot my password, it sends an email to you telling you how to reset the password.
Right.
So if I can get into your email, that is the treasure trove, because now I can find your bank. I can say, I forgot my password, have it send a password instruction, and before you even know it, I've reset your password and cleared your bank account out.
Oh my goodness.
So this is the danger of using
basically, from now
Wi-Fi.
on, guys, YoungstownClick, No using public Wi-Fi. Check it on your phone with your cellular signal.
You can use your cellular signal
or get a VPN.
or get a VPN.
Now, a VPN, what does that look like? Is that a device or is that
No,
something that...
It's a piece of software that sits on your computer, and what it does is it takes every piece of data you want to send out, and it encrypts it so that it's not readable.
Okay.
And basically, you can view this as it's building a tunnel from your computer to some computer out in the internet that's got nothing to do with where you physically are. So now the stuff is coming out way over here. So it's kind of like building a tunnel from your basement to your neighbor's basement so that nobody can see you coming out your door because you're going out your neighbor's door.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is basically what a VPN does. And they're not super expensive.
How much would you say?
I would never pay more than, on average, $5 to $10 per month for a VPN.
Mm-hmm. And you sell those as well?
I do have. I have a couple options for VPNs. And the idea here is, like I said, to make it so that somebody sitting right next to you can't see what you're sending out.
Right.
So that is a major thing. Like you said, I mean, you could use your phone and use the cellular signal. That's still technically a public signal, but it's not one that can be intercepted as easily. Most people don't have the equipment to do that.
Okay.
That's more expensive. I also, by the way, like I said, I use a VPN at home as well, because somebody could be tapped into the cable coming out of my house and see the signal. Or if you're of this mind, you may not be wanting to hide anything, but you may not want your internet provider to be able to see where you're going or what you're doing.
Got it. Okay.
Your connection goes through them. If you are not encrypting it, if you're not using a tunnel, then they can see where you're going.
Got it. Okay.
So all of that is also part of that. So there's a lot here.
Yeah.
And I know we've reached our hour. I know, but if anybody wants to talk about things that they are concerned about or that I can help them with, I'm more than happy to have that conversation.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. I think that obviously we see why the scammers are able to get a hold of people's information because there's a lot. But when you know somebody, when you could talk to them, and hopefully that's what this conversation did, is help to break it down and make it a little bit more simple, but also let you guys know the importance of taking action before something crazy happens. So Jim Hruska, Pirum Consulting, thank you so much, Jim, for coming. If you guys want to talk to him in person, you could probably find him at Cigarro a couple times a week. Cigarro Cigar Lounge right here in Hubbard, Ohio. And don't forget to check out www.ohioflame.com. We appreciate you listening. Thank you for sharing the podcast, guys. It's been getting some traction. This is only our second episode, but it is so great to see the community already starting to develop. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us or subscribe on YouTube as well. YoungstownClick, the website will be ready soon. And until next time, you guys are the best part of what makes Youngstown Click. You guys are amazing, and go live your life large. You have the permission to be amazing, permission to be great, and I'll talk to you next time.